Riley.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great, thank you.
Nice to see you. Where are you?
I am in my office at home.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
So,
Didn't know if you
yeah.
were traveling still or enjoying any fun time or
We went to Napa for my birthday.
yeah,
And now we're home. So
now you're home.
it's not very many other places we can go these days.
My gosh, I know. And you were there. You said there was snow coming down. Is that what
Oh no,
in the
it was
pool?
ash from the fire.
Yeah.
Napa's on fire, Sonoma's on fire, and we were in the middle in Calistoga, and we were in the pool, and it was just raining ash one day.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it didn't smell badly. It just was hazy, and it gave some really pretty sunsets, though.
I bet. Well, at least you got out before it totally went. Well,
Oh,
I mean, went totally crazy. The pictures now are just insane.
right, right.
Yeah.
And just what's happening in Oregon is
Hmm.
crazy too with the grass fires,
Yeah.
which I had no idea.
I I've got yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. We're getting a good little crew here today. So thank you so much for doing this.
Yes, I'm excited. Thank you.
Yeah,
Very excited.
we record it and so then we post it in our Facebook group and so people watch it at all different times. I'm always amazed. There's Carla. We've got agents from Jeff City and agents from Columbia and it'll be like a month later and I'll get someone who will message me something. They're like, "Hey, I just watched that video." I'm like, "All right then."
You're like, I'm glad I shared it on the Facebook group.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's unseasonably cold here today, and my house is always cold. So I know it's only September. And yes, I'm wearing a turtleneck sweater.
I feel like though it was so hot, this is kind of one of those things where all of a sudden 65 feels like it's 30, and
Yes.
you're just like bundled up and oh my gosh. And
And we got our air conditioning serviced, and all of a sudden my house is freezing all the time. So I feel, and my husband loves it. And of course, I'm like, give me another sweater.
for
So,
those who are joining us, Maura is famous for not having a coat, right?
ever when I travel.
Yeah. And ending up in places where you need it.
And or they get a freak snowstorm, and I'm like, I didn't know it was going to snow here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I finally bought one though when I went to Montana last February, and it was negative 35.
Oh my
I
gosh.
brought a coat.
Well, and the crazy thing is, like you said, you never know where you're going to end up. And then all of a sudden you need one and you're like, what just happened?
Or you check the weather, but it's being a southerner, it's very strange when I go out west, Midwest or Northwest, and it could be 80 one day and then snowing the next.
Oh,
That just doesn't compute in my brain.
well, it is 12 o'clock. We'll keep admitting people as they kind of come in and we'll go ahead and get started. We are recording. So we are super glad to have with us for our Remax Boone Realty and Jeff City crew, Maura Neill, which I am so embarrassed with 2 L's, that not 1 L. And I just felt so bad. I published a name because I feel like a name is such a special thing to people. It's like your name and that is a very thing. So I apologize for screwing that up. And now I'm like, how many times have I done that over the course of the year and just didn't screw that up? So we will start with that. But she is an amazing top agent from Atlanta. She's part of the Remax system and so she certainly knows and appreciates our red, white, and blue, but she does all sorts of really super cool things. And I remember one of the first things I noticed about Maura was just her bio and how she described herself as I think it was a beer drinker, a dog lover. I think you like whiskey too. Yeah, it's a real passion of hers. And we always talk about what makes people get attracted to our business. And that is, do they know you? Then do they like you? And then do they trust you? And so Maura makes it really easy to get to know her by just kind of looking around and really sharing some personal details about herself. And then as you start to get to know her better, what you realize is she is a complete brainiac, so smart. She was the chair that I was very honored to appoint to chair the Federal Legislative Housing Policy Committee for NAR, which is the top committee that identifies and addresses all of the policy which happens with our real estate. She probably knows more about VA loans than anyone in the country. If I was going to call somebody, it would be her, literally, and she's written a class on it, and she's got all sorts of cool things going on with her business. So we are super glad to have you in our Top Agent series. So thanks for being with us.
Thank you. And you can introduce me anytime, because now I'm gonna have a great rest of my day.
Well, I sincerely mean it. And if I haven't told you that enough, I mean it. And I really admire what you do. And I want to start with asking you one kind of question that I've always wondered about your business. You have this great tagline, and it's Buy, Sell, Live Atlanta, right? Buy, Sell, Live?
Right.
Yeah, and you came up with this, right? This concept of that, because I know that we have other friends who have duplicated it. So that's why I wanted to ask you about what it means and what that has done for your business.
We were looking for a website URL to use other than just my name. And there's nothing wrong with using your name, and I have that URL too. But I had just left a team. My time was kind of up on that team. It was my former mother-in-law who was my business partner. And that's a story for, over cocktails. But so we had just been thinking about, it's not just about buying a house. It's not just about selling a house. It's about where you live and loving where you live. And we had toyed with Buy, Sell, Love, which I know our friend Shay Hada in Chicago is Buy, Sell, Love Chicago. And I actually own Buy, Sell, Love Atlanta, but I wanted to go more for the living part. And there was no real rhyme or reason. It just, in my mind, it kind of flowed better. But it was, I wanted to connect with our clients on a level that was not just about the sale. It was about their life and their lifestyle and what they want to do and where they want to be and how they want to use their home as an extension of themselves. And that's kind of what we came up with.
And it's done different things for you in regards to like SEO optimization, hasn't it?
It has. I'm not the best person to talk about that in depth and detail. That would definitely be my husband, who's my business partner on the SEO and the web design side of things. But we definitely have capitalized. I know a tiny bit about what we've done on the back end. It's, with Buy Atlanta, Sell Atlanta, Live in Atlanta. So a lot of the meta tags, I think is what they're called, that we can pull out of just the name in and of itself. And then all the other things that we can do with that. We use it a lot when we're doing a charitable or a community initiative. We use Buy, Sell, Live Atlanta Gives Back. So we're constantly branding and rebranding around the URL so that whenever we are talking about ourselves or a business, we're able to use a version of it that always points back to home.
Nice. So tell us a little bit just about you in general. How many years have you been in the business? How long have you been with RE/MAX? We'll ask that question. And then also tell us about your sales volume and kind of where you are on that spectrum.
Sure. I've always been with RE/MAX. So I started in 2001 in the business as an unlicensed assistant. I got licensed in 2005. I was an assistant to a RE/MAX agent. She is now the former mother-in-law. She was the mother of the boyfriend at the time, and then we got married, and I was her unlicensed assistant. Right after 9/11, I was laid off from an advertising job. And so she said, come work with me, figure out what you want to do. My dad was a realtor in the 80s, and I grew up in the business. He went from being a realtor into appraising and the lender side of things, underwriting, and then finally, right before he retired, he was a fraud investigator for Fannie Mae. So a lot of my childhood and adolescence was in and around real estate in some way, not to the extent or the depth of you being fourth generation, right, Elizabeth? Right. But definitely, yeah. But I definitely had familiarity, and working with my ex-business partner, she was a 7-day-a-week, 24/7, phone rings, pop up, go show that house, late to my rehearsal dinner, skipped our wedding rehearsal, late to my rehearsal dinner. I mean, because real estate just ran her life. And so before I got my license, I swore I would never be a realtor. I swore I would never get my real estate license. I don't want to sell. I don't want to work nights and weekends. But of course, you know, most people who say that, that quickly changes. I did fall in love with the business. I fell in love with a lot of what she taught me, but I also learned a lot of what not to do from her. And I think that those are good lessons that you can learn from any mentor, how to do things and how to change things to make them work for you. But I've always been with Remax. So this will be I'm in my 15th year. So yeah.
And so what is your average price point in Atlanta that you sell?
Our average price point is in the low fours, around 415 or 420, which has gone up a good bit over the years, considering a lot of our clients and a lot of our business is repeat and referral. And our repeat clients, it amazes me every day. Even, you know, sometimes we do a great job at keeping in touch. And sometimes, as every real estate agent knows, life gets in the way, business gets in the way. You have that client that falls through the cracks and the phone rings one day and it's them. And you're like, wow, I literally haven't spoken to them. I think they fell off my mailing list, but they still remembered me. And it makes me proud to say that, to see when, like right now, we have 3 of our first time home buyers that were first time buyers 4 or 5 years ago that are moving up to their next house. And it makes me excited to see that when they were, you know, 25, 26, 27 years old, newlyweds, or just, you know, starting off their professional lives, that they bought a house that needed some work, and the love and the care that they've put into it and the equity they've built and the way that they've listened to the advice that we've given them, that makes me so proud. But so we've upped our average price point over the years into that low 400s, and we do about 20 million a year. Mm-hmm. My husband and I were just looking at the numbers this morning, and we're going to be hard pressed. We're going to beat it out for the rest of the year, but we're at about 16 million right now if the 10 transactions that I have pending close. So we'll have 4 million to go before December 31st to hit that benchmark. But even with COVID, it's been strong and surprisingly strong here in our market.
And so you work with your husband, and is there someone else on your team also?
So my husband, yes, is my business partner. He is licensed. He's been with me in the business for about 6 years and has been selling for 3. And my mom retired from teaching and being an assistant principal after 47 years of that. And a couple of years ago at Sunday dinner, she said, well, I guess I should go ahead and tell you that I passed my real estate exam. And we were like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, I figured I'm going to be bored, so I got my license and I'm going to work with you. So she has sold a couple of houses over the years, but she mostly does our client care, you know, home anniversary cards, birthday cards. She'll be a showing assistant if we need it, if we're just slammed or if we're out of town. And we did have a full-time assistant until recently, but she needed some different things in her life, and we decided that we were going to try to go it alone without her. So it's been interesting, but it's been fun to kind of redistribute the tasks and the way that we work. And I just look at it as I gave myself a raise. So
there you go. That's awesome. Well, so in contrast, like our average sales price in one of our markets is about 215, 230-ish. You know, it's about 175 in the other one. So for those of you watching, she gets to sell half the amount of homes that we do. So yeah, there's some claps on there. Reminder. So what do you think is your best? So you mentioned client care, some things that you do. What do you think is like the most amazing thing that you do as far as prospecting goes and building to your sphere? We have
gotten a lot better about that, especially this year. I will say that ends up being my weak spot. I have grand plans, right? The road to somewhere, good intentions, right? We know that saying. But I think the thing that we're doing that we're getting better at is just being more consistent. And I will say, I think that I have been very lucky, knock on wood, over the years that past clients do remember us. I think a lot of that is due to the fact that they are friends with us on social media, not just following a business page, but actually a lot of our clients we end up becoming friendly with, which I know is pretty common in our world. And so we're good about commenting and liking, and when I see that someone's having a baby, we send them a baby gift, or when I see that someone is having a birthday, they always get a birthday card, or when something is happening, they got engaged, or they went on a trip or something, just a way to connect with them over something that's happening in their lives and making it about them. But we've gotten a lot better this year about doing pop buys. We started right before lockdown. Ironically, the first pop buy I have ever done in my entire career was a little gift bag with a pack of tissues, a bottle of hand sanitizer, and a pack of, I actually have them right here, Clorox wipes. And I hadn't even heard COVID mentioned on the news yet. And our little card said, the real estate market is healthy and we want you to stay that way too. And we dropped it off at 75 of our clients' homes over the course of a couple of weeks. And then of course, COVID hit the news and we all went on lockdown, and people were like, that was genius. You gave us hand sanitizer. Nobody can find any right now. And I was thinking to myself, well, A, who's going to blame me now for having inside information? But also, don't I wish I kind of had all that hand sanitizer back? But just things like that. And then with, again, COVID related, for back to school, all of our clients who are parents, we gave them a back to school sanity and survival kit, which had adult coloring pages with colored pencils, earplugs, because their kids are staying home, and Jell-O shots. I made, I don't know how many, I think like 200 little plastic shot glasses with lids of Jell-O shots, and delivered them all to clients. And I see some people giggling on the screen, which makes me laugh, but we were greeted with like the most fun reactions to that. Clients were posting pictures on Facebook and saying like, oh my God. One of them, I walked up to the door and he said, if there's not alcohol in that bag, I need you to just turn around and go home. And I was like, well, ironically, I have Jell-O shots. So that was fun. And so I think I forget to do those things sometimes because, again, life gets in the way, business gets in the way, but then I have so much fun doing it that I can't wait for the next one. So
we've talked a lot about the fact of that, part of doing those things for your clients is actually what gives us energy.
Right.
And it makes you feel better, which gives you more confidence, which then grows your business. And so part of it is kind of stepping out and doing that even when you don't want to. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you mentioned social media, and I want to contrast your comments, because I feel like you brought up some really good things. Like you look and you see, and you took this to the the kids' houses that you knew were home in school, but you don't have kids yourself. And I bring this up because on our last Lunch and Learn, Beth McGeorge, she's watching today, she mentioned that a lot of her prospecting is done by way of her kids. But you don't. So you have this other group, which of course, as you go through the cycles of life, we may have people who've never had kids, or people who kids are grown. Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned kind of connecting with them on social media, and you do so much on social media. Is there anything that you do that you feel is kind of like your kind of thing that you could share on social media that might be beneficial?
I was looking at the sample questions you sent me, and I feel like my thoughts on social media change all the time. And I used to teach, a lot of the classes I used to teach were on social media and having a strategy, and it has become, I hear a lot of people talk about what a not so pleasant place it can be right now on Facebook, and people are frustrated with the political conversations, and it seems like there's a lot of strife and a lot of unpleasantness. And I think for me, my biggest strategy, or my biggest way that I've been consistent over the years, has just been to make sure that I'm focusing in on more about going and seeing what my clients are up to and what my clients are posting, and commenting on it, learning something about them, finding a way to get something in their mailbox based on something that's happening in their life that they've talked about right now, rather than having a strategy that is focused more on me, which is like what I see a lot of people doing, which is I have to post, one article every Monday and one picture every Tuesday. And so if you can take the focus off of yourself and you put it more on the conversations and the engagement that you have with your clients in your sphere, I think that is a way to stay more energized. about it, because it brings you not only that interaction, but it also, there's that self-satisfaction piece. But when you do something really nice for someone and then it ends up that they post about it, that is where the energy and the synergy comes from. I've tried so hard over the years to have like a strategy and a social media calendar. And every time I kind of get revved back up, like I just started posting on Instagram again. And I told Ben, I was like, I am going to be diligent about every time we list a property and every time it goes under contract and every sale we have. And I fizzled out at the end of August already. So because it was more about me just throwing stuff out there rather than there being that true interaction and engagement. So I think the best way to use social media in a positive way, especially right now in light of all the negativity that is out there, is to use it to continually learn about the people that you care about and the people that are going to help you to grow your business. And that's your past clients and your sphere. If you see that someone announces an engagement or their child graduates from college, send a card. One thing that I do very consistently is when we're big animal lovers because our animals are our kids. And when I see that someone has lost a pet, they always get a pet sympathy card in the mail immediately. When it's a dog, I have this great artist that I found on Etsy that will do a painting of their dog. And we send it to them like a print as kind of a way to and those get posted on social media all the time. And then people ask who did it and how can I want to order one for my sister-in-law. And that to me is the best way to form that connection.
Do you ask them for a picture or do you just kind of grab one maybe that they posted?
I try to grab one that they posted at some point. Sometimes it takes a little bit of digging back into their social channels, into their photo albums. And sometimes if it's a breed that's very common, if it's not a very specific looking mutt, for example, if it's a breed that's very common, this particular artist, and I wish I could remember his name right now. I think he's Dog Art Studio on Etsy. I think that's the name of his shop. But he has a lot of prints that are ready-made and ready to go. And so obviously if he's painting something custom, it's more expensive. But sometimes if it is a purebred black lab, he'll have 6 or 8 purebred black lab prints. And if I can find one that looks very, very, very much like their dog, I can pick one of those and order it immediately rather than wait for a custom job. But sometimes there just isn't one that looks enough like their dog and we do a custom one.
That's very cool. And if you think of all the people who have bought pets now in the past few months, I mean, what a great kind of even end of the year holiday gift to give them. Sure. Hey, here's a picture of your new puppy or something. That's cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. So you mentioned, do you use Facebook lists to sort your clients?
I used to, and then I fell off the wagon.
It's all a lot.
And every once in a while I get a wild hair where I want to get super, super organized, and I'll start going back and adding people that I know are more recent friend requests onto my client list. Really the place where I find it has the most benefit for me is on clients. So I used to try to be really diligent and have all of my friends assigned to at least one list. But now, as long as I can sort of keep up with the clients, that's the one that matters the most to me.
Sure, because you can track them. Do you buy leads?
We do not.
Have you ever?
I have. Yep. We used to be premier agent with Zillow, and we were finding that we were getting a huge quantity of leads, but the quality just really wasn't there. I know that there are some agents who have had a profound amount of success with Zillow. Part of that is that I really think that we want to provide personalized service. We do much better when we're pretty sure that the client already knows they want to work with us, meaning they are a past client or they've been directly referred and they've already heard great things about us. I don't mind interviewing and proving that I'm the right person, but when I get very frustrated when we just don't get calls back and we don't even get that opportunity to interview and to have a talk with them. So it was really frustrating that our money was that our time was being spent more so than that it was the money. Because at the end of the day, we do track every lead that comes in on a pretty intense spreadsheet that Ben has. And we weren't losing money on Zillow, but it wasn't enough of a profit that the time that we were putting into making sure that every single lead got X amount of phone calls and then got put into a drip marketing campaign. And how do we make sure that we keep following up? And then you get to the point where you've put so much time into it that you don't want to let them drop off, because you're like, well, look at all that I've already invested in this person. So now I have to try to make them a client. And it just became a bit of a time suck. And I'm at that point where I would really just rather spend my time and my money and my energy on the people who know they want to work with us and they already love us, or they think they're going to love us because someone, their friend or their agent across the country who referred them, has already told them how great we are. So to me, I would rather that be where my positive energy goes.
Absolutely. I've got a couple more questions I'm going to ask Maura, but if you have any questions you want to make sure that I ask, go ahead and put it in the chat and we'll make sure we get to those. So the holy grail of real estate, do you have a CRM and do you use it?
I do. And I love talking about it because I feel like I have tried every single CRM on the market, especially when I left my team, which was back in 2012. And she was a hardcore believer in Top Producer. And if you are too, that is totally fine. But in my opinion, as the person who also kept her books and did the marketing, we were not using it to the extent that we were making use of all the bells and whistles. And for whatever it cost back then, I have no idea what it costs now. It just seemed like we were barely using a fraction of the capability for what we needed. So I use RealVolve, which is RealVolve, and I love it. And like I said, I went through at least a dozen or more on trial basis, and I can't even imagine the amount of time that I wasted putting all my people and then building out my checklists and things and trying to make a CRM work for me. And the thing that I love about RealVolve is there is a time commitment to set it up on the front end, but it does everything. It does everything that you could possibly want it to do. It text messages, it auto emails, you can set up a drip email campaign, it will remind you of birthdays, you can create lists. So we do have pretty involved lists in RealVolve that we can sort all our clients and service providers and all of that. And especially now that I am doing the assistant work myself, I'm functioning like a solo agent who just happens to have a partner. But part of that division of tasks is if I'm being completely transparent, I do all the paperwork except for he does write, offers if it's his client, but I am in charge of all of the keeping us on track with those tasks in the transaction management piece, but he makes all the phone calls that I don't want to have to make. So, because I would rather just not be on the phone. But it makes it so easy to just set up, and we have an 86 or 87 point contract to close checklist. It's really involved, and I add to it all the time. Every time I think of if I see a void in that checklist, or if a client asks me for something before I have sent it to them, or if a client asks for me to explain something, that means I haven't explained it well enough. That goes onto the checklist, and that's one more item that gets auto emailed to them, or one more explanation of where we are in the process. So our clients feel like they are completely educated and on top of where we are in the transaction at any given time. And I have RealVolve to thank for that, because if I couldn't log in and click a button and see what the tasks are for that day for every single transaction, I don't know that I would be able to keep up with where we are and still have a life.
Well, and just so you guys know, knowing Maura, just of what I've known and have worked with her, she is high detailed. So she's not only going to know the system inside and out, but like she mentioned, she's the one who's using it. So worthy of looking into. Two questions, Maura. One is, so did you initially set up from Top Producer into Revolve, and was that just an import? You mentioned kind of the setup. How did that go?
It was not an import. When I left my team, I took my client list, but I didn't take any of the materials that I had created while I was with her because I probably could have, but it just didn't seem like the right thing to do. So I had an idea, obviously, of what I wanted. They do have an import system. I know that if you are leaving a CRM and going with them, they do have people that can help you with that. They have a 30-day process that's very involved on their website that helps you to set everything up. But what I loved about it was an opportunity for me at that point in my career when I could really take a step back and look at my systems and start to make changes because I was starting something new. So I was able to start to make changes and say, maybe this email needs to go before that one, or maybe I need to tell them, maybe I need to request the utilities information sooner, or maybe I need to explain when we end the due diligence period, which is our inspection period. Maybe they need to get a detailed email that explains, hey, Mr. Buyer, congratulations, we got through this. That's one hurdle down. Here's the 3 things that are coming next. So it was an opportunity for me to sort of start from scratch. And every time I've taken those kinds of what could be seen as a hurdle or as a challenge, every time I've approached something like that as more of an opportunity in my career, I've found that that's been something that's made me a better agent.
Very cool. Very cool. The other question is, so are you the one who follows up with Facebook if they had a baby or found out if they were engaged, or does somebody else do that?
It's usually me. If we are super, super busy, we keep my secret weapon is the dollar store. I did not know this until about a year ago, but the greeting cards, at least at Dollar Tree, I don't know if you have those there. Do you have those?
Yep.
The greeting cards at Dollar Tree are actually a Hallmark spinoff. So they're actually real life Hallmark cards that are like 50 cents a piece. Because I'm a little bit of a cheapskate, and my husband will tell you that that's absolutely true. He's nice sometimes and says it's frugality, but I'm actually really cheap. And the price of greeting cards shocks and appalls me in like Target, where they're $4.99 a piece. And so we keep stacks of them. Like, for example, these are my pet sympathy cards that I just restocked the other day. Sadly, pets seem to be the ones that get the most use, but we keep a stash of all kinds, general sympathy, pet sympathy. We actually have branded to our team birthday and home anniversary cards, but I keep a stack at my house, and then my mom has some in her home office. So she does all the birthday and home anniversary ones 100% of the time. But if I am super busy, or as Elizabeth said, under normal non-COVID circumstances, if I am traveling and teaching, like I often would be right now during this time of year, if I see that I need to send a card and I'm not at home, I can shoot a quick text to my mom and say, look up so-and-so in the CRM and send them a card. Their dog died, or they had a death in the family, or they just announced that they're expecting a new baby. And so she can jump in and get those sent. But usually it's me.
Very cool. So the one, as we kind of are wrapping up here, and again, we can continue to take questions in the chat, but so I was in a class the other day, and I love this question that I was asked. It was a kind of a broker training class, and they said, if you like closed up shop tomorrow, they said, what would be missing from your marketplace? And it was such a great question, because it like made me think of, and they're like, this is your value add. So, if Maura was to leave, there's some secret sauce that you have that that what is your secret sauce, or if you were gone tomorrow, what would be missing because you are so amazing at it?
Well, I was prepared to answer the what's your secret sauce question, and I was just going to say it's bourbon. But you changed it up, Elizabeth. But and I actually had an answer prepared of like, what's my secret sauce that I bring to my clients, but not if I was to leave the marketplace. Oh gosh, that is a good question. There are 20,000 real estate agents in my market, and there are 45,000 in my state. And we are a state where half of the real estate agents are not realtors, which is a really kind of tough situation sometimes. But I think the way I was going to originally answer the question was, my secret sauce is that I know the contracts better than most of the attorneys. Knowing the contracts inside and out, knowing every obscure exhibit and amendment, knowing every single thing that your client on either side of the transaction has the right to in the transaction. And sometimes that's the thing that wins you the negotiation in multiple offers, or in a scenario where you're up against an agent who maybe doesn't know things as well as you do. And sometimes you need to find that loophole for your client to have a win, or for your client to have success. So I think that what my market would lack is someone who's constantly calling for everyone to get better, and not just wishing everyone was better, but being vocal and involved, and pushing for agents who aren't as good as they should be to start to take a look in the mirror and realize that they need to be better for the consumer and for the brand and for our industry as a whole. Because we're in, I mentioned that we're in a really strong market where things are just blowing and going. And, as you know, in any strong market, that's when everybody wants to get their real estate license. And that's when business comes out of, buyers and sellers are coming out of the woodwork. And I am really worried sometimes when I see the contracts that come across my desk on my listings, or the way that some listings are written, the bad photography. And I just see a lack of attention to detail in the contract process. And I think that my attention to that kind of detail, and my knowledge and my kind of nerdiness about the contracts, which also points to my nerdiness on the policy side, as Elizabeth mentioned in the beginning. But I'm also very vocal about when things don't go. I'm not afraid to ask my broker to call a broker, or to say, are you fine if I go ahead and call this broker? Or this is a problem that we're having and we have to fix it. Because at the end of the day, we're playing with very large sums of money and very big investments on behalf of consumers. And so the better we are at those types of things, the better we are personally, but the better we are for our industry and for the realtor brand, and to serve our clients.
I love that answer, because I think, and you see some claps from some people. Yeah. I mean, I think there's such power in knowing that document and giving confidence to yourself, first off, that this is a document that you're familiar with. And then that confidence comes across to the buyers and the sellers. And that is a very, very powerful place to be as a realtor and advocate, and someone who is representing someone in their transaction. So that's super cool. So tell us what you were going to say about bourbon and wrap us up.
Oh, yeah, I just read in your notes the last question, I think, just, what is your secret sauce? I was going to say bourbon, because it keeps me sane. My husband got me into bourbon several years ago. I mean, I liked whiskey, but I didn't know anything about it. And he loves mixology. And there are nights when I just turn and look at him funny, and he was like, "Time for a cocktail." Yep. Yesterday was one of those days. But it's just, it's just that nice reward at the end of the night and now that it's getting cool outside, just a nice, neat bourbon on the back patio to just kind of unwind. And that, I was just going to say it to be silly, but you mentioned in the beginning my bio, which changes all the time. I think I just wrote one for Explode that says, it says a couple things about me and being a major investor, and then it says Maura loves, Philip Becker gave me this several years ago. Maura is known for her 4 loves: bacon, beagles, bourbon, and her husband Ben, not necessarily in that order. And so I think the last line that I just wrote for Explode was, Maura loves beagles, bacon, bourbon, and Ben, and doesn't love writing a new bio every time someone asks her for one.
Well, that is awesome. And yes, and I think you've been able to share your love of bourbon, which I know has contributed to another B word, your business, to make it better.
Yes. Yeah. But it just does go to the point, and I know we're running over, and I apologize, but it's about, it's that connecting and engaging with clients again, right? Our bio doesn't need to say, Maura is a top producer who sells 20 million in real estate every year. And these are all the ways that I'm great. Sometimes it just needs to be a way that you're connecting with a consumer outside of real estate. So when I see someone's personal Facebook profile that's literally just open houses and listings and asking for business and asking for referrals, that's such a turnoff to me. So it must be to other consumers. So put a little bit of your life out there and what interests you and what your passions are. We get clients because they are excited that I share an alma mater with them. We get clients because they have beagles too, or they're dog lovers, or they love animal rescue. So our clients come to us from so many different paths. I very rarely think that a client has ever hired me because they have any understanding of what the phrase top producer means, because agents don't even know. Everybody says they are, so it's lost all meaning. But also, I've never had a client say, well, I was so impressed that you sold 20 million. I want to work with you. That's never been the thing that makes someone pick up the phone, in my experience. So I would much rather connect with them on something personal and have my Facebook and my Instagram be a reflection of who I am and what I'm interested in, and have the business come organically.
I think that is like the most amazing point, because yeah, people need to know you, and that's when they like you, and that's when they start then to see real estate. And they're not going to follow you because of an open house, or they're not going to follow you because of a new listing. They're going to follow you because they realize that you have a beautiful garden, for one. I don't know how you do and sell everything that you do and like keep your garden up so amazing, which is beautiful. And then you post these awesome pictures of the cooking, which I think you and your husband both do. So we'll have him do a cooking show or something, because it looks
He
amazing.
would love that. He would love that.
Yeah. And that's when you really start to get to connect with someone. So thank you.
Absolutely.
No, thank you so much for sharing everything. And thank you for taking your time and being with us, because we know you are busy and we really appreciate it. And we get some of the best feedback from these lunch and learns. So thank you.
It's my pleasure. And I love your unicorn behind you. I was using my unicorn Starbucks cup today for you.
Oh, there you go. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all being here and asking me, and it's been fun. I wish I could see you in person.
I know. I will look forward to the chance where I will get to thank you in person. So hopefully everything goes well and the winter's good in Atlanta.
Yes, you too.
All right. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Have a good day. We'll let you know who we have lined up for next month. So in the meantime, go kill it out there.